heading into Sunday's game against the Milwaukee Bucks. One of the things that I had as a point of emphasis in my notes was to keep an eye on how DeAndre Ayton looked in the short roll against the Milwaukee Bucks drop covers, but even more specifically with Brook Lopez. Because, of course, Lopez is one of the best in rim protection in the NBA. He's arguably the defensive player of the year, but also the Bucks defense around him and in tandem with him makes their drop coverage more unique and more collapsing in terms of taking things away and taking things off the table than any other drop coverage in the NBA. So he had some very good reps against them that left me very impressed. So I want to go ahead and zoom in on a handful of those reps, as well as a couple things that he did defensively. So let's go ahead and dive into the film real quick. All right, this first one we're going to see here is going to be Chris and DeAndre setting up, and we're going to pay attention to, again, with all of these plays on offense, it's going to be the angles and the screens and the willingness to screen and create contact from DeAndre Ayton to then create separation for the ball handler. So we're going to see a great screening angle set. Carter decides to go under it for whatever reason, but it doesn't matter much because all Chris is doing coming off of this is trying to attract and engage Brook Lopez while also keeping Javon Carter at bay as he chases to get back into play. And you can see they kind of converge to try to take away the pocket pass, but Chris puts it in a perfect spot and also does a great job waiting for DeAndre Ayton to get into that roll dynamic on the short roll. Ayton's able to get into the pocket, and look at where he catches this and where he's pulling up from. Just inside the free throw line, which is one of the most proficient spots on the floor for him this season. And he's able to go ahead and knock this down. All right, the next rep here, we're going to see him, DeAndre Ayton, with Devin Booker on the empty side this time, right? In semi-transition here. We're going to see a nice little angle for Devin Booker here on the screen. Jrue Holiday is one of the best screen navigators, however, and you also want to look at how further up in the empty side, especially with Devin Booker having the ball, that Brook Lopez is. He was definitely a lot closer to the level relative to what his typical drop is, with Devin Booker initiating pick and roll, and here we see it here in the still frame. Then he's going to retreat back some, and then Devin Booker does a good job engaging him just enough to get DeAndre Ayton open. Ayton's going to catch, but Brook, again, being the stout drop coverage defender and general defender that he is able to jam Ayton on the short roll to stop his progress from moving forward, forcing Ayton to play in isolation now with space, and they're in the middle of the shot clock. Ayton gets into his triple threat game, hits him with a good jab step to create just the slightest bit of separation, gets the slightest retreat here, as you see, as he opens up a little retreat, and he's able to knock down this midi. All right, this next rep here, we're going to see they're coming down court in early offense. We're going to see another screen here from DeAndre Ayton. Look at the creation of separation from DeAndre Ayton, putting contact on Grayson Allen as Devin Booker comes through. Booker's able to then engage Brook Lopez. Again, you see he has his toes on the three-point line now versus being closer to the free throw line does Brook Lopez with Devin Booker initiating. And you can see the dynamic kind of folding out. And also want to pay attention to Jay Crowder here. Most teams will have their taggers tag earlier, but the way the Bucks play their defensive coverage around drop is that they force it to be a more organic 2-versus-2 scenario. And Jay is not necessarily tagging, so that means the roll there is going to be open for DeAndre Ayton, the short roll, excuse me, and he's able to get into his catch. And then the job's not done here because I always mention that he's able to make plays on the short roll, not just for himself off the shots and soft touch finishes, and not just passing off the short roll either, but his pound dribble and then assortment of moves to get into, whether it be a spin move, a hook shot, a pump fake, and then a reverse pivot, things of that nature. He's really, really good in the depth with good pace in these scenarios, and we see it here as we kind of slow it down because on the catch here, he knows where Jay Crowder is being the low man, so he gets into the pound dribble, and then look at him take it over the top of Jay to completely navigate the hand help that Jay's trying to give. And then he puts up this extremely, look at the contest here from Brook Lopez. This is why he's arguably the defensive player of the year. Because most players can't make this shot, especially off of a pound dribble in a congested space, and then having to navigate hand help on top of that, and then having to navigate to get a good release off against the best rim protector in the NBA. DeAndre Ayton does all of that creation on the short roll for himself here. And then puts up this soft touch finish, hitting the perfect spot at the corner of the box off the glass from this 45-degree angle. and he's able to knock that down. This is just wildly impressive and insane to see. Like in person in the arena, when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. And of course, I didn't have the benefit of seeing it on replay. So when I went to my rewatch and then I saw it again, I just marveled at it for 4 or 5 minutes, because this is an absolute elite role play here from DeAndre Ayton. An elite post play as well. Navigating hand help, get the hook shot over the highly contested attempt, and he just knocks it down. All right, and in this next rep here, we're going to see another good screen from him, freeing up Devin Booker. Then he gets into the short roll, and Devin Booker does a good job with the pocket pass, hitting him early enough to where the help from potential weak side defenders to muck up the pace to it, he hits them soon enough so that it's not a problem. And again, customary to the Bucks defense, they don't give too much attention to the roller outside of the two players defending in pick and roll. And Ayton's able to get into his midi, pull up, and he's in rhythm, and he knocks this down. All right, now shifting focus to the defensive side of the floor, we're going to see the Bucks get into some of their chin pick and roll here. So we get the chin action there. Jevon Carter's cutting off of Lopez. And then they're going to get into the pick and roll part here. And we're going to see a great job in patience, discipline, and then reacting on time and on schedule within the coverage from DeAndre Ayton. So we'll see them flip the angle here, not unlike DeAndre Ayton would do with CP3 and Devin Booker on their side of the ball. And then we're going to see him recognize that and then get into the late switch dynamic. Joe Ingles is coming off of this angle flip as they rescreen with Lopez, expecting, of course, with DeAndre Ayton in drop coverage, to come off of this and get into a pull-up, which is one of the things he likes to do in pick and roll. DeAndre Ayton jumps out of that drop coverage as he creeps up, and he's able to completely take away this attempt. And now the Bucks are being forced to play off script, and they're getting late into the shot clock. So he keeps pressure on Joe Ingles, forces him to give it up after forcing him to cancel that attempt at the rim from deep. And then it's going to be a poor pass here on the entry from Grayson Allen. And the Suns are able to get the extra possession. All right, this next rep here, we're going to see them kind of scrambling some. And then he's going to do a good job, as you can see here, is kind of loading up. Seeing him be in position to deter this attempt at the basket from Jevon Carter. Does a great job stepping up. But, however, that ends up forcing a switch. And something that I want to see more of, especially if the Suns are going to more switching with Kevin Durant in the mix from tomorrow and moving forward, is DeAndre Ayton, if they're going to be switching a lot like this and being in scramble mode like this, have the wherewithal to kind of kick guys out of potential mismatches in a post like this one here with Brook Lopez and Torrey Craig. If DeAndre Ayton, this is Jevon Carter in the corner that DeAndre Ayton's responsible for at the moment. If he's able to just step over the help line and just kick out switch with Torrey Craig and tell Torrey to kick out to the weak corner, he could do this as Jay's kind of loading up and Lopez gets into the roll. He could do this on the flight of the pass or even before the pass gets there and then completely neutralize this attempt at the basket. But not only does he not do that, he also doesn't even get into the position to contest this. I know he's 2'9" and everything, but he could have a little bit better effort in terms of getting up some rim protection to help Torrey Craig here and end up getting a basket off of this. All right, and then on this final rep here, we're going to see another good job from DeAndre Ayton. Here, this time with Josh Okogie, which, again, I'm going to continue to emphasize is going to be the best defensive tandem pick and roll that the Suns can put together, but it's also going to be one of the better ones in the NBA, especially once we get to these more meaningful games down the home stretch and in the playoffs. So we see, of course, DeAndre Ayton is in the drop here. They're going to get into a late switch as he puts his hand up to contest Jrue Holiday in the mid-range. Does a great job with the contest, and because of the late switch and the dynamic that brings, instead of it being a guard that's contesting and then leaking ahead, it's DeAndre Ayton. And that's going to naturally and organically allow for a mismatch to be created in transition as DeAndre Ayton gets into his rim run. I want to also highlight Ish Wainwright doing a great job not just watching the Suns here, but going to pursue the ball, takes this rebound away from Brook Lopez, and then they're able to flow into the next dynamic in transition. Chris picks up DeAndre Ayton. He's able to get a nice over-the-top pass to get to him around the restricted area, and he's able to finish it. It's the little things like these, especially on the short roll, and then when they get into the defensive side of things, if they're switching, DeAndre Ayton having the wherewithal to take full advantage of these dynamics within their schemes, that's going to really help push the needle for the Suns. And if he can continue to operate in the manner in which he did against the Bucks on Sunday, offensively and defensively, in addition to the little things that he brings with screening and things like that within his dynamic, that's where the Suns are going to reach their most optimal level of efficiency and effectiveness. And the sky could truly be the floor for this team.